Well, good evening, council, guests, gallery. I now call the Tuesday, May 19th, 2023 regular council meeting to order. First up on the agenda, adoption under 2.1 with an amendment, please, council, for consideration. That it be adopted as amended to add item 8.5, Community Sports Day Association Municipal Grant Request. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Blanchette. Are there any further additions or deletions? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. A couple minutes to adopt, please. So 3.1, adoption of the minutes of the April 25, 2023 regular meeting of council. Moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Blanchette. Were there any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. 3.2, adoption of the minutes of the April 25, 2023 public hearing be adopted. Moved by Councillor Blanchette, second by Councillor Pearson. Are there any additions or deletions, or sorry, any errors or omissions arising? All in favor? It's carried. A couple of delegations before us this evening. The first one under 4.1 from KPMG, the auditor's report, and consolidated financial statements. So we're going to have a presentation by Michaela Roque via Zoom / speakerphone / paper cup and a straw. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here on speaker. Really appreciate it. I want to start off by saying a huge thank you to the finance team and to your management there for again being so great to deal with on the audit and being fully transparent and giving us absolutely everything we need so that we can make sure we have the information to provide the audit opinion. So I will present the financial statements in almost like a consolidated format, and so you should have that package. It's the one that has almost the finger, the digital screen, a digital title page. So I'll start with that. On the agenda, I'm going to talk about the auditor's report, and then I'll go into the consolidated financial statements, and as part of that, we'll talk about the surpluses and reserves section as well, and then happy to take any questions, and happy to take questions throughout or at the end. Don't be afraid to jump in.
Thank you so much.
On page 3 of the presentation, so the auditor's report. So KPMG is going to be issuing or anticipates issuing a clean audit opinion in accordance with the Canadian Public Accounting Standards. So what that means is that throughout our audit procedures, we did not find anything that would make the financial statements materially misstated. So we were able to let the users know that we found no material issues. Again, just a reminder that the financial statements are the responsibility of management and those charged with governance. So they're your financial statements, and we come in and just audit the numbers on a sample basis to make sure that that there's no material in the statements. On the next page, we're going to start with what we call financial assets, and we're looking back to December 31, 2022. So financial assets is anything that can be converted into cash fairly quickly, and so they're grouped into their own category, and at the beginning of the consolidated statements start with what we call financial assets. First on the list is cash and cash equivalents. The village has $13.8 million available in cash and cash equivalents compared to $10.9 million in the previous year. Shortly, I will talk about the surplus that was incurred in the year that contributed to the additional cash flow throughout the fiscal 2022. Note that a portion of this is invested as well, so over $9 million is invested, but easily accessible through the pooled funds. Accounts receivable is any amounts that were owed to the village right at the end of December. That means that it was your revenue to be earned, but The cash flow just hadn't quite come in. $1.1 million this year compared to almost $2.1 million last year. Last year there was a large receivable from Trans Mountain in the amount of $1.2 million. Now this year was only $235,000 in terms of collections from them, so quite a bit lower. Included in that $1.1 million is also taxes that are receivable of $388,000 this year. Last year's balance was about $516,000. There's inventories of $12,000 from the information center. And then the last line is your investment in your government business entities and partnerships, and that's your Valemount Community Forest Group. $10.7 million is where your investment is at, compared to $9.5 million in the previous year. So there was income that was picked up this year of $1.2 million net for the whole group, and we'll see that come in as well on some slides a little later. So total financial assets for the village is $25.7 million compared to $22.5 million in the previous year. So the next page is page 5 on that presentation, financial liabilities. Does everyone have that? I just want to make sure everybody's following okay.
We're following along just fine.
Okay, perfect. So this is the flip side. So this is everything the village owed right at December 31, 2022. So accounts payable and accrued liabilities. Included in here are all the invoices and bills that hadn't quite yet been paid. As well, there's about $300,000 of wage accruals included in there that were also owed to staff right at the end of December. The next line is the development cost charges. These are funds collected by developers for future infrastructure costs to the subdivisions. So $376,000 compared to $369,000 in the previous year. The next line is deferred revenue, $1.3 million compared to $1.7 million in the previous year. So deferred revenue is funds that are already in your bank account, but the project or the agreement that was signed just hasn't been fully executed yet. So in there is the MCFD, some MCFD monies, some CBT monies. There's also included in there some hotel resort tax, about $291,000. And then the last line is the long-term debt. So there's water. The water fund has debt of $434,000 compared to $497,000 in the previous year. So $63,000 was repaid this year. So total financial liabilities is just over $3 million compared to $3.2 million in the previous year. The next page is what we call non-financial assets. So these are assets that are harder to convert to cash. You'd have to sell your infrastructure and your buildings and put it on the market. So it kind of goes into its own class. Prepaid expenses, $18,000. This is insurance or any expenses that you pay already in advance of when they were due, and they'll eventually be expensed to the bottom line, but it just sits there waiting until the year or the time comes up that for the year that it actually needs to be expensed in. And tangible capital assets, $16.2 million compared to $16.4 million. In here is all your physical assets that you own. This year there was about $530,000 of additions put into capital. There was a garbage truck purchased this year for $207,000. There was capital put into the Dogwood lift station, $81,000. Washrooms at Centennial Park, $54,000. Are some of the bigger capital additions. But also, the reason the balance is reduced by a bit is because every year you do have to record wear and tear on all the assets you own too, and it's an accounting estimate. I call it amortization. This year it was $701,000 of an expense. It's a non-cash item, but it's necessary as per the public sector accounting standards, just so that the assets don't stay at their original value forever. They need to be amortized over its useful life. So total non-financial assets, 16.2 compared to 16.4 million in the previous year. So page 7 is the operations. So this is everything that happened in 2022. Your revenues were budgeted to come in at 10.6. They came in at 9.7. Middle column is your actuals for this year compared to prior year of 9.1 million. Expenses were budgeted to be 5.3, and they came in at 6.5 compared to 4.6 million in the previous year. So the annual surplus was anticipated before capital expenditures to be around 5.2 million in the budget, but it had come in at 3.1 million after you take all your revenues less all your expenses this year. Last year was a surplus of 4.4 million. So we'll go into the revenues a little bit more so you can see what makes that up, the 9.7 million. So just under 1.1 million is the net taxation revenue, which came in right on budget and expected. Sales and user fees, budget was 1.3 million. It came in at 2.9. So the increase was from the sewer and water sale of services. So the sewer receiving station was operational for its first full year, and it wasn't budgeted for. So that's why you see a big change there. License and permits is at 84,000 in revenue compared to 48,000 in the previous year. This year, building permits is up about $30,000 compared to the previous year. Hotel and resort tax came in at 589,000 compared to 367,000 in the previous year. The resort municipality initiative helped towards this, and just seeing probably increased activity since likely the lockdowns. Rentals, 65,000, and then government transfers, provincial-wise, came in at 2.7. Is expected to be around 4 million. It's very difficult to budget for big capital grant projects, and so sometimes just the timing of when the projects actually get executed. But in the 2.7 million, there is 1.5 million from NCFD for the childcare spaces, and there's included in that balance is the BC Hydro grant of 500,000. On the next page, government transfers, so gas tax monies was 102,000 this year. And the next line is other government transfers, 685,000 compared to 2.5 million in the previous year. 348,000 of that $685,000 balance is from Trans Mountain. There's investments and penalties revenue, so budgeted to be 47,000, came in at 136,000. Interest income is up about $80,000 from the prior year, just given the way the rates are and have been in the end of 2022 there. The next line is the investment in business enterprises and partnerships. So this is your Valemount Community Forest Group, budgeted to bring in 309,000 of equity pickup. And it came in at 1.2 million compared to 1.3 million in the previous year. And then with the visitor center shop of revenues of 26,000, your total revenue there is 9.7 million this year. Okay, the next two pages are for the expenses. So most of the expenses have come in on budget. I think I'll go through general government there. Budgeted to be 1.4 million, came in at 3.2 million. So I just wanted to highlight that there are expenses for the childcare spaces, the MCFD project, which was not budgeted for. So there's about $1.6 million of expenditures grouped in there. It needed to be expensed because you guys won't be controlling the capital. And so it's been expensed there. The other biggest department or function on page 10 is the recreation and community development, coming in pretty much on budget at just over 1.3 million this year. Page 11 has the water, sewer, and the visitor center. For water, the budget was $956,000 and came in at $509,000 in expenses. I believe that in the budget, the Swift Creek project was budgeted for, but it's in its initial stages, and so expenditures are still to come. So total expenditures planned to be $5.4 million and came in at 6.5. So the next page is the accumulated surplus. So this year you guys incurred an annual surplus of $3.1 million, and if we add that, if we just look at the first column, if we add that to the opening accumulated surplus, so accumulated surplus is all the surplus and losses that have been incurred since the inception of the municipality. And so we add that $3 million this year to that opening balance to get $38.9 million in accumulated surplus over the life of the municipality. I'll talk a little bit about what that $38 million actually means, because it's not free and clear surplus for mayor and council, unfortunately, to go and execute all their projects that they want and on their wish list. So I'll explain the accumulated surplus number as well shortly in the next few slides.
Well, we can cut this presentation short then if we can't just have $38 million at our call.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you guys have so much you could do with $38 million right now. You could probably all list what you wanted to do. The next page is page 13. This just proves the net financial assets number. So if you remember from the first couple slides, I had mentioned that you had the financial assets and you had financial liabilities. So when you take the net difference of both of those, so if you were to tomorrow close your doors and take all of your financial assets, cash them all in, collect all your receivables, collect all your money from Valemount Community Forest, shut them all down, and pay off all your bills, the difference would be the $22.6 million, right in the middle column there, $22.6 million of excess kind of financial assets, which is great to know that you have enough financial assets to be able to pay off your debts and your bills, etc. So that's just the financial measure. The next page is more of a breakdown around that $38.9 million. So this is all the accumulated surplus since the beginning of the municipality. So it actually gets broken down into 3 buckets, I guess I like to call it. So the first bucket is, of that $38.9 million, in the first column there, first box is the investment in tangible capital assets. So $15.8 million of that $38.9 million you've already spent on capital, so the cash is gone out the door, but you have the value in all of your buildings and infrastructure and roads and water and sewer that are in your community, so that value is already tied up, but you get credit for it because you did spend dollars along the way for it. And then you do have, the general fund has unrestricted $6.1 million, and then there's the restricted 9.3. The water has 1.5 in surplus, and sewer 2.3 in surplus. And so when you add that all up, you get to $35.1 million. But we still need to add the reserves, because council's also along the way made decisions to put aside funds for specific reserves and specific purposes. And so the next slide, page 16, breaks down the reserves you have set aside. So this is the third bucket, which is your reserves. So capital works and machinery and equipment, there's almost $400,000 set aside for that. Land sales, $70,000. MFA, unexpected funds, water and sewer are listed there. And then the Northern Capital Planning Grant is your biggest reserve at just over $2.9 million. So total reserves you have set aside for future purposes. 3.7 million. And you add that to the 35 million, that's how you get to the 38.9 million of accumulated surplus. And then the next page is just page 17. It just lists where all the details are on the consolidated financial statements. We talked about a large chunk of them, but there's a lot more details in the full set of the consolidated financial statements. And that's everything. I'm happy to take questions. Again, a big thank you to you and your community and your team. It's been great working with you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Motion to receive the delegation, moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Pearson. Questions for the delegation? Solid?
Great presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michaela. We look forward to perhaps next year having you in person or another representative from KPMG, but it worked out. We're pleased with the auditor's opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your meeting. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. On the questions, comments on the delegation itself. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Next, before us, 4.2, the second half of our delegations tonight with us from BC Housing to give an update on an 18-unit seniors facility on Ash Street is a presentation by Mulyk, Toil, and David Sierra. Welcome, David. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I bring regrets from my Regional Director, Mulyk Toil. He's at another council and on the other side of the province this evening. I'm real pleased to be here to be able to, I guess, announce, really, to let you know that the Valemount Cares project was approved for final project approval a few days ago, and that the expectation is that they'll begin construction on the 15th of May, give or take a day or two. And so I'm glad to be able to come and just sort of talk with you a little bit about it and tell you some of the details about the project. Who's running the slides? Are you running the slides? I'm running the slides. Who knew? What button do I push? This is like, am I online?
Point it towards the computer. And just hit there. I tested it, today. I'm not really sure.
Maybe we can help them out.
I can help you.
It's Hugo. It's Hugo's doing it.
Yeah, it's gotta be Councillor Mulyk. For sure. And we forgot to register our software. Next time.
There we go.
All
Okay,
right.
that works. Okay. No, that works too. Anyway, so my name's David Shea. I am the nonprofit portfolio manager in the Prince George office. Valemount is one of the communities that I work with. So Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society, Valemount Affordable Rentals are both projects that are in my portfolio. And my caseload is basically all of the Northeast. So just a little bit. Yeah. So it's nice to be in the South. Anyway, so BC Housing's been working with Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society for decades, actually, since when the first phase of Golden Years Lodge was opened in the late 70s. And we're working again with them to build this 18 units of seniors housing under the Community Housing Fund. I understand that it's intended to be or expected to be an $18 million construction project. And as I said, it's funded from the Community Housing Fund, which is a fund available for designed for families and seniors to live independently. The project is not a project that includes support services. The society as well has done fundraising with other groups, and some of whom are mentioned at the bottom there: the Columbia Basin Trust, Federation of Community Municipalities, Four Rivers Co-op, a variety of individual donors, and that's just a few that I've mentioned. If you could move to the next one for me. So, of course, this isn't something you can see well, but this is just an example of the floor plan. So on the left there are 16 one-bedroom units. That's the image on the left. The one in the center is two-bedroom units, so there's two two-bedroom units. with the expectation that, some people may have caregivers, they may be, sibling partners or roommates and such. And then the third one is a guest suite. So that's an additional space that's not normally in our projects, and the society felt that would be important and is something that they intend to rent out for visitors. And if you could go to the next page for me. Thank you. So the Community Housing Fund has defined criteria, and each of the 4 funds that BC Housing is funding projects under do. This kind of building is geared for a mixed model of income, some low to moderate income, some rent geared to income. That's just a broader version where people pay 30% of their income, and then low income, so people that would be on income assistance. And the rent model reflects that. There are some guiding principles around income. So a single person needs to have an household income that's below $77,000, and assets that are less than $100,000. This building would be for people who are 55 and older, because it's geared towards seniors. Some I just noticed in here, so just saying these buildings also would include people with disabilities, and if there were vacancies and they couldn't find people to fill, then they could bring in other people that met the other criteria. And people will live there on a month-to-month traditional residential tenancy agreement. And if you could go to the next page for me. So it really is geared towards 3 different income groups. Moderate income individuals, so the rent, that's a low end of market rent, so we're estimating that to be around $1,000 a month. That 30% of the units in this building will be structured that way, and in this case it means 4 one-bedroom units and 2 two-bedroom units are going to be set at the market price. The low-income individuals would be paying 30% of their income. So 50% of the units there, 9 of them, one-bedroom units, would be priced this way. So that's a real range. So, broadly, if a person has an income of $21,000 a year, then their rent would be $7,000 a year, whatever that is divided by 12. If their income was, say, $75,000, then their rent would be $25,000 a year. And there is no cap. So part of how this program works is that people who have higher incomes just choose not to live here, right? Because it costs them a lot. They can go to the private market to get a better price. So people sort of self-select into that market, and it works really well for people that are on the lower income level because they get a really affordable price. And then 20% of the units are geared for people who are on income assistance, and the shelter rate at this stage is $375, and that would be the rent for that unit.
Let's take a quick pause for a question.
Sure.
Councillor Blanchette?
So it says here, moderate income individuals, estimated rent $900 to $1,000. So what's the market, what level of income do you have to make that market rate? Above 77?
Below.
Below,
So
okay.
you have to have this is complicated. And I'm not sure that I can explain it here well because I don't do rent calculation. It's defined in the operating agreement. So how to do this is sort of articulated in the actual contract that the society signs. And I have at the last page, you'll see, a list of resources that you can look at. So you can actually sit and read it. There's a book on our website called the Housing Provider Kit. Well, there's actually a large series of volumes. One of those volumes, volume 2, is about rent calculation. So if you really want to know or you want to look into it, then that actually describes all of how that works, right? But and then it comes down to a combination that you can't have assets, or you're not eligible if your assets are greater than $100,000, and you need to have your income below 77 to start off with. And then there's a variety of other things that go into it. When they do your income, they're going to look at some things are excluded and some things are included. The income is included though, right? So if you have stocks, cash, real estate, business income, investments, those all count as your income. If you have registered savings, those themselves don't, but the income from those do. Okay?
So if I sell my house for $400,000, let's say, and I put that away in the bank, and then I want to move there, that isn't happening.
Your assets would be greater than the eligibility,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions about this piece?
Not at this time.
Okay. So then, if you don't mind going to the next one. This is, so just which I started with. So estimated construction is in, what, next week, the 15th? As anticipated completion is summertime of 2024, and then move in sort of around fall. All of those, the start date's probably fairly tight, but the rest of those, of course, move. But what we're anticipating is a 14-month construction.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you wouldn't mind going one more page, and I think that's my last, oh no, just one more. So these are just some renderings of the building itself. A couple of examples of what it's intended to look like. It's all on one floor. The society has done some fundraising of their own, of substantial, to add some features to the building, some common room and a commercial kitchen, and some of the tub rooms, so some of those other sort of features to enhance the building and the community. And then one more page, please. And then just a few links. So unfortunately, they don't have the actual www on there, but if this is something that's live, then people can link into these. So what I've given you here is just, some information about subsidized housing, the housing provider kit that I mentioned. So this is a public document, and people often have questions about rent calculations. So they can go there, their families can go there if they have questions about how that works. The housing income limits, which is established by CMHC and changes annually, and then a description of the community housing fund and the process for applying for that and for eligibility for it. I'll say the community housing fund is the very same building as VARS has over across the tracks, so it's the very same funding model, the very same rent model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a lot different than what we thought, right? But that gives us a,
Yeah.
sorry, can I ask another question?
Sure, why don't we receive it first?
Okay,
Motion to receive, moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Blanchette. Questions? Councillor Blanchette.
so you said, so 77, under 77,000 per person, so a couple can't make more than,
No, I think it's 107 for a couple
okay,
and 77 for a single.
okay.
So it's a higher number for a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. There's just been a lot of stuff around town about different, what everybody thought, so I just want to make sure that now here we're live,
Yeah.
The other question is, was this ever an assisted living, or has it always been an independent living facility?
The society applied for independent livings.
Okay, because Northern Health would have had to have been brought on board at the very beginning if it was going to be assisted or supported living, correct?
So there are no supportive living programs that I'm aware of for seniors in the province at this time, and nor are there any assisted living properties being built at this time.
Okay.
So the eligible fund that the society saw that was available was this independent living fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I really want to thank you for working with the board, because I know that the board has gone through a lot as well as you have. I'm very sorry on behalf of the village what you and the board have had to gone through during this process, so I'd like to apologize on the behalf of everybody in this village. But I want to thank you and the board for doing this, because we need this badly, and I mean, in a week it's going to start being built, and that's fantastic. So thank you, board, and thank you very much, David.
Thank you. I'm glad. I appreciate that, and it's part of our job. We want to work with you as a community. We want to invest in communities, and we want to build what's needed, right? So we're real glad to work with you, and I appreciate Mayor Torgerson and council and the society. The two societies that I work generally both, are innovative, creative people that have a lot of tenacity. So and they, you look around the town, there's a lot of housing that's been come to town because of the volunteers in your community. It's amazing what you've been able to do.
Yep. With help like you, from you.
I'm glad to be part of it.
Yep.
Follow up?
No, I think that's everything for now.
Further questions from council?
No, I just wanted to comment and say thank you, David, for being here tonight and for the support that you give us every day. It's much appreciated, and we are so excited about this project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm giddy as well. If there's no further questions, David, thank you so much on behalf of council staff, the community for the presentation this evening. Much appreciated that we're able to connect in person finally.
Yep.
Although I really have enjoyed our phone calls from time to time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Nice to see you all. And I'm glad to come back anytime you like. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
I'm on holidays. Give me 3 and I'll come back.
Thanks, David. Any questions, comments on the delegation?
Very excellent.
All in favor of receipt? This question, it's carried. Thank you. We have, sorry, Councillor Mulyk, did you have any questions? Mr. Opportunity. I'll try to be more respectful of the audio issues and bring in but feel free to speak up if you've got something, Councillor Mulyk. 6.1 for under correspondence for action, we do have a request from Valemount Community Sports Day Association. They're looking for the following: road closures to be approved by council for Friday, June 9th from 4:30 to 8 at 5th Avenue between Birch and Cedar, and Saturday, June 10th from 10:30 till noon for the parade road closure as per the attached map. Subject to: number 1, road closures being advised in a local paper week prior to the event. Number 2, the proponent submitting the required liability insurance documents to the Village of Valemount no less than 5 business days prior. And number 3, the proponent meeting with Public Works Superintendent prior to the event to confirm details of road closures and Public Works availability. What's council's wish? Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. Questions, comments, discussion?
How many years is this?
It's coming up on many. All in favor? It's carried. Reading file. Is there anything council would like to bring to surface? Councillor Blanchette?
I just want to talk about the dog park a little bit. Sure. I just wanted to ask, let it be known that we had a discussion after our last meeting, just very loosely, about continuing that discussion. So I don't want people to think that it's just fallen. We plan on discussing it more and figuring out something PDQ. Am I to be?
Consideration later in the budget.
Yeah.
Or later in the agenda on the budget itself.
Oh, right, yes, okay, never mind. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I'm having a day, so.
Further? Anything else? Moving on to bylaws and, administrative reports, pardon me. 8.1, bylaw enforcement summary, April 2023, that the report be received. Moved by Councillor MacLean, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Is there any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.2, we have some updated articles of incorporation for the Valemount Community Forest and Valemount Industrial Park. First one up, that council adopts the updated articles of incorporation for the Valemount Community Forest Company Limited and direct staff to sign the attached special resolution. Moved by Councillor Blanchette, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Discussion? All in favor? It's carried. And that council adopts the updated articles of incorporation for the Valemount Industrial Park Company Limited and direct staff to sign the attached special resolution. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on the VIP. All in favor? It's carried. 8.3, the Valemount Lift Station Project Procurement Selection. Recommendation here. That council approve Timbo Contracting for the Valemount Lift Station project in the amount of $6,322,721, subject to completion of the clarification period. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion, Councillor Pearson.
Just looking for clarification on what the clarification period is and timeline and what's involved.
That is to review the contract between the contractor and Urban Systems.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So to repeat that, that's just a time period for the contractor to review the contract with Urban Systems. Yeah. For those at home. Further discussion? Great question. All in favor? It's carried. 8.4, 2022 Auditor's Report and Consolidated Financial Statements with the recommendation that we accept the 2022 Auditor's Report and Consolidated Financial Statements as presented earlier by KPMG. Moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion?
Just no discussion, just a huge thank you to our Director of Finance, Lori McNee, and her team, and everybody that works here, because, I mean, I've been here for a long time, and every single year it's clear and clean, and it's fabulous, so thank you very much.
Ditto. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. With the the late item, 8.5, Community Sports Day Association looking for a municipal grant request in the amount of $367.50 for the Valemount Sports Day Committee for costs associated with the community hall rental for the June 9 to 11, 2023 Valemount Days event. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Section 9, Bylaws and Policies, 9.1, 5-year financial bylaw number 871, 2023, that it be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on final adoption, including a dog park. All in favor? It's carried. 9.2, Reserve Fund Amendment Bylaw number 873, 2023, that it be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Pearson, second by Councillor Blanchette. Discussion? All in favor? It's carried. And finally, 9.3, Tax Rate Bylaw number 877, 2023, that it be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Pearson. Discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Is there any new business tonight? I didn't identify any. Is there a notice of motion folks would like to bring forward? That brings us to council reports. Could we have Councillor Mulyk on the big screen, please?
I think he's frozen.
Oh.
There he is. I'm just-
We'll start with Councillor Mulyk. Unless this phone went dead. Could you assist with this Samsung? Just give us a second, Councillor.
No, looks like he died.
Got you again.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll just hit mute on this end. And go ahead with your council report.
Alrighty. On April 26th, the CBT community engagement. One second here. Feedback. Alrighty, yeah, the community engagement. And on May 7th, I attended the salmon release
Excellent. Thank you
at
so much.
George Hicks.
Thanks very much, Councillor. Councillor MacLean.
Did you get all that?
Yeah, we sure did. Councillor Mulyk. Yep.
On April 26th, I attended the open house for the Columbia Basin Trust Operations Management Plan.
Just ask you for one pause.
Okay.
Yes, we sure did get that, Councillor Mulyk. Thank you.
Oh, so frustrating, eh?
Put it on mute.
That's good.
He could be seen and heard. That's awesome. Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay, that's all right. On April 26th, I attended the open house public consultation for the Columbia Basin Trust Operations Management Plan. And on May 1st and 2nd, I Zoomed into the CRT Local Government Committee Strategy and Update sessions. They were held over 2 days in Creston, BC. I was sorry I couldn't attend the sessions in person. It was just too far to drive at this time. It was great that the group could accommodate me by Zoom, and treaty negotiators and Indigenous leaders updated us on the negotiations.
And round 16 coming at us?
17.
Round 17. Do we see an end?
Sorry.
Put it on the
Say.
spot.
Yeah.
2024 is coming.
Yeah,
All right. Does that conclude your report, Councillor?
that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson?
Also on April 26th, attended the public consultation gatherings for Columbia Basin Trust. Good open house in the afternoon and then a really good interactive session in the evening. There were some really, really good ideas put out on the floor. And then April 27th, attended Rural Connectivity Committee meeting along with Mayor Torgerson. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchette?
On the 26th, I joined all of you with the CBT discussion. On the 4th, we had our PHR meeting, and one of our, so we've lost Sam, who was our Bright Health computer guru. She put everything into play that we were asking for. So that's been taken over. She's moved on to another position, and so that position's been taken over by Mary Haas. Hopefully I pronounced her name properly. And she's been with Bright Health, and so she's going to be doing all of that deep dive stuff that when we ask for stuff, she figures out how to make it work. And then on the 8th, we had our Elder Care Committee.
Thank you. April 26th, joined the community with the Our Trust Our Future, Columbia Basin Trust Management Plan open house and facilitated sessions. April 27th, had a Southeast BC Regional Connectivity meeting with Councillor Pearson and folks from the Southeast. May 2nd, I had an overview meeting with a gentleman that owns the 19 acres just south of the Rocky Inn. Jim Chorley has some pretty cool plans for future housing. And then later, I had a regional zoning meeting with one of our local talents, Tamara Cinnamon, looking at some regional property, but had questions regarding board procedure and timelines. May 3rd, I joined a whack load of people on the Cranberry frontage road for a community cheer squad for Melanie Chitty. It was very moving. And then May 4th, may the 4th be with you, I was able to have a enlightening session with the Valemount Secondary and the Village of Valemount Youth Council. Thank you, Councillor Pearson, for having to caregive. We hope Mrs. Pearson a speedy recovery, but if you want to give me one more, I'm happy to take it. And then May 7th, joined reps from Sim First Nation and Spruce City Tourism Valemount for the salmon fry release, 25,000 fry let go into Swift Creek that day, looking for upwards of a 1% return over the next 5 years, or in 5 years, 4 to 5 years. And then May 8th, yesterday, had a Mares and Chairs Spring 2023 seasonal preparedness call with the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, the Ministry of Forests, for a technical briefing on the seasonal risks of floods and wildfires, so timely. And that concludes my report.
I did forget one item. Can I add to my report?
Let's get back in there.
So tomorrow is Walk with Your Doc. It's at 5 o'clock at Centennial Park. And you may bring your dog.
What's a doc?
Walk with your doctor.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, walk with your doctor.
Yes,
I thought
at 5
you
o'clock, Centennial Park.
I thought you were dragging around a flotation device.
Yeah, hey, you never know.
Motion to receive. Moved by Councillor MacLean, second by Councillor Blanchette. Are there any further questions? All in favor? It's carried. We do have public comments for consideration on items by council as part of the approved agenda. Are there any public comments this evening? Please take to the podium, starting with Mr. Jamin.
Eugene Jamin from Valemount. I heard tonight that there is much distress about the housing, the seniors' housing. I would like to say that it's on both sides. I was attending a meeting of the elder care, and it spilled over into that meeting as well, where one member was attacking the other. And I would really like to see a resolve or communication between the two groups. It's building and it's not healthy for this community in any way, shape, or form. We also heard mention that this project is strictly independent living and nothing else. I believe that independent living was the main goal, but that we would put in indemnities that would facilitate towards assisted living or that kind of care in the future. So it is not wholly independent, although I know BC Housing is only supporting the independent housing component, but it is more than that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comments this evening?
My name is Claudia Frost, and I'm resident of Valemount. Actually, I just wanted to come and thank the village for all that they've done towards this project. I know there was a lot of back and forth and helping us out and leases and lift stations and everything else, and it takes a community, and it really showed that it took the community to bring this out, to bring this forward, and we're so happy to see this moving forward for all of the residents, that they can have a beautiful place to live in that gives secure, safe housing, and I congratulate the village for what they've done.
Thank you. There are further public comments this evening? Yes, in the back.
His Excellency Mayor. And
your name and area of residence, please.
my name is Korean Thomas.
And you live outside the village?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm one of the board members and for the seniors housing and also the care program committee. And then since the very beginning, that means about 2 years or 3 years, we are working hard on this particular project for the seniors, for this community. And it's very hard to distinguish between, David was saying 55 years and older. There are people with the disabilities, 55 years and older. And also there are young people like me. I am 81 years old. And so I'm still a young man. I'm climbing on the roof top and doing my shingles and everything. So there is a big gap in between this, the age, kind of ageism, that's what I should say. And I would say that I make it very brief in my talk. I got the information from it's all misunderstanding, whatever happening back and forth. That's really good for the community, lots of interactions there, and we know what we need in the community, but we are all together in this journey for improving the citizens' life in this community. And as two main points we heard about here tonight is independent living and also supportive living. I appreciate respected Hollie asked about that question, and it was so clear that BC Housing, in their agenda, they are looking for independent living, and that's where their funding is. That's where they are providing the funding. But at the same time, what we need, the community is looking at having the extended plan. That means supportive living. And also further down the line, we need care for dementia and many other things. So that's what we are. We are a small community, and we shouldn't be isolated or ignored by any of the groups, BC Housing or CBT or any other groups. Privately, we try to raise funds, and we try to provide the need.
Can you conclude your remarks, please?
Yes. So that means we have to try hard for further funding and further negotiations with the government to get more funding for the supportive living, and then further on for extended care. This is what my idea and my little blip. Thank you very much for all your support and everything, and all your kind support in the last several years. Thank you for your services.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Other public comments this evening? Let's try to keep them to 2 minutes, please. Is he frozen, or is he asking a question?
Oh, he's listening to his phone, sorry.
Oh, he's listening to his phone. Okay. Gotcha, Hugo. Gotcha.
He had that freeze move.
Yeah,
It's one in the book.
he didn't even twitch. Just like, yeah. If there are no other comments this evening, motion to receive, please. Moved by Councillor Blanchette, seconded by Councillor Pearson. All in favor on receipt? It's carried. Not heading to in camera, so I will ask for adjournment. Councillor Pearson, thank you. We are concluded.